Persia,
Hi.
Jill, Golden, Tracy, how are y'all?
Hi.
Tonight's episode was Girlfriend-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ish. We made it into the ish.
Yeah.
We made it.
How did this happen?
Well, I think we've been wanting it to happen for a long time, and you've been one of the people that have been really vocal about that.
Absolutely.
Which, I mean, can we all say thank you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, thank
Thank
y'all
you.
for years of entertainment.
The gratitude.
10%? What do we owe you?
This is good for me right here.
So it happened really organically in terms of Blackish. ABC was doing a reunion night. So this episode, all the shows, or it's a week. I'm not sure if it's a week or a night. And our showrunner, EP Courtney Lilly, said, "What do you think about Gert?" And then I was like, yes.
Wow.
And then called each of them individually. I didn't want anyone to feel pressured. You just never know. You don't want anyone to feel like, it didn't do a group text. And
Thank you for that.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Oh, I'm just saying group text.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's a lot
But
of
maybe
pressure.
we should do one and call it Girlfriends.
We should.
But
That would be dope. I'm surprised y'all don't have a group chat.
You know what? Totally. We really should. Can we do that after today?
I feel like we need to do.
NSYNC has a group text.
But
we need a group text.
We need a group
Yeah.
text, and can we also do one on Instagram so we can share stuff with each
yeah.
other? You know what I mean? It's easier.
You can do that? Wow.
Yeah.
Your
Okay,
your
Golden.
diehard fans like me
I know,
would
I'm
love that.
antiquated.
Okay, cool.
I know.
I
I'm like,
said,
you can do that?
Can you do that? Okay, we'll get her up to speed.
Yeah, I'm
However, so it was an organic thing, and then it was an absolute yes for me, and I called each of them, and it was an absolute yes for each of them. And then we also have Reggie coming on because you got to finish the tableau.
Yes.
It was the episode story already existed, and it perfectly fit in. So we're doing an episode on feminism and the divide that occurs. What did you?
The racial divide.
Yeah, the racial divide in feminism between white feminism and black feminism. And Bo is in a group that is not diverse, to say the least. And her suggestion is, let me bring in some of my friends. And so I opened the door, and
Yes.
they're my college friends.
And here we are.
Not diverse, aka very white.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
All white.
Yeah.
Well, it's diversity does matter, and it's important for us to be in the room. How true to life was tonight's episode for all of y'all, though?
In terms of that conversation
Yeah.
around feminism.
Yeah.
True to life, that occurs. I think everybody has blind spots, and I think it's easy for all the different kinds of privileges to become a blind spot for people. And in our country, whiteness is a privilege.
And I think in activism in general, just as an activist myself in other areas, I've seen the same thing happen where I've had to put my foot down and go, do you realize that's incredibly offensive to black people?
Right.
They're just like, well, no, we're so worried about this or the animals or the planet or this, that. And you're like, yeah, but that matters to me too, but that doesn't mean that this doesn't matter. But people do. They get just the blinders where they get tunnel vision on one goal and forget that they're being really insensitive and sometimes flat out racist.
And there's so many preconceived notions of who and what the black woman is in this country. And so I think I'm just so proud that we were able to, I mean, we don't go that deep into it, but just being a
22
woman.
minutes.
22 minutes, but I'm so happy that they're shedding light onto this. And I see it. I've seen it in my own personal life, and you have to pick and choose your battles. You can't wake up fighting every day, but it takes platforms like this to be able to shed some light on it, which I hope will spearhead more conversation about this. I mean, that's why Blackish is such a great show, and it's in the forefront. It's ahead of these topical issues, and it will create dialogue.
I always wondered what that struggle was like for y'all when y'all first started Girlfriends, though, because it was really a representation to me of what blackness was. Did y'all have to have those fights with the writers?
I don't even think I knew.
No.
I don't even think I was aware.
Of what we were doing?
What we were doing
No.
in the very beginning. I really didn't.
No, and that Girlfriends and our crew, cast, the whole thing had such diversity, and we were led by Mara Brock Akil, by a black woman. Our writers' room was majority black women.
Yeah.
Our crew. Our director of photography was a black man. Then there was us.
Even like first AD, like
Yeah.
women.
All of it.
Yes, first AD, second AD, like all of
Yeah.
that. Our script supervisor was a black woman. We had such diversity. It
wasn't premeditated. We
No,
just
it
did
just-
it.
We
It
felt like
what-
it was a normal thing.
It was what
and
it
it's
was
normal.
changed the way I go forward in my career because it was such an assumption, and that's not the way it is everywhere.
Right.
The other thing that I mentioned earlier that was really key, and I've noticed as I've gone out into the world in different scripts and stories, we were a cast of 4 black women the stories were our stories. They were told through our voices. But more than that, the stories were about our relationship with each other, our love for each other, how we fought with each other, how we supported each other, how we held each other down. All of that. Held each other down?
That's right.
Is that okay? I said it right.
Held each other down.
I held you down. In my head, I heard held each other back. I was like, did I just say we held each other back?
I did that too. I'm like, was that the right time? Yeah, I held you down.
Okay, you held me down. Okay, great. So, and even though we had boyfriends, husbands, children, girlfriends, girlfriends, all these different things, the stories were about us.
That's right.
And that is very different from even what I'm doing on Blackish. You know, and that's actually, it was really funny yesterday. One of our writers who's been on Blackish for 6 years, she was like, 6 years I've been watching you, never seen you like this.
We bring it out of her.
I mean, it's just, it's a different part of me that it was really exciting for me. And I see why, looking back, why our show holds the space that it holds. Because we did something very special. It holds that place in my heart because I was experiencing it and in the experience of it, but I understand from the outside looking in, we were sharing something that we all see in our lives, but don't get to see on television.
That's right.
Yes, and that's why I think women gravitated towards it, but as a man, it felt like reading a Judy Blume book. No, seriously, because you was getting a peek into women's lives.
I get that.
You were in the life, the day in the life of these women, of the woman.
Absolutely.
Day in the life. It's true. And we weren't peripheral characters, what Tracy said, which is so important. I mean, how many times have we seen, you come in for a cup of coffee and you never see that woman again. LaQuisha number 8 is, you never see her in, episode 10, then she comes back. But we really,
LaQuisha number 8.
I didn't know. But, but we were literally the forefront of our own stories. I wanted to piggyback off of what you said because it's really important.
It's crazy that we were right before the wave. Like we were literally right before.
There was no social media when Blackish was on. I keep doing that, you guys, but I'm in an alternate reality here. I'm like in my boat and my Joan.
Girlfriends was on, you mean?
Yes, there was no social media when Girlfriends was on.
That's right. Yeah.
Like it all happened after us. It was like
think about it
right before the wave.
Think about it this way: no social media. I was like the natural hair revolution that we are in now, celebration, did not exist. I remember I went to when we went to Essence. I remember a woman pulling me aside and saying, "Girl, you're on television. Why don't you get your hair did?" And I was like, "I'm sorry. What do you mean?" She was like, "Put some heat on your hair. You're on TV."
Like get a perm, basically.
Yeah, or some heat.
Just
do something to your hair.
I don't know what that means. School
flat iron,
straight it.
Okay.
The natural look wasn't in.
That didn't exist. There weren't newscasters wearing their hair in natural curl patterns or any of that kind of thing. It was not at the forefront of entertainment and media in that sense. And so there were so many things that didn't exist then. That we were talking about and doing, but we as a show were in a landscape that did not support us in that way. It was not celebrated. I don't know about you guys. On my entire 8 years on Girlfriends, I was never on a late night talk show.
Wow.
And we never went to the Golden Globes, Emmys, nothing.
I did. John Sally had a show that was.
John Sally.
I did John Sally. I did John Sally.
I did Kimmel.
Shout out to John Sally.
I do remember. I did do Kimmel, but it wasn't for Girlfriends.
But it wasn't Kimmel.
What was it?
He wasn't, because it was Jay Leno.
No,
Kimmel, yeah.
Kimmel.
Okay.
But it wasn't for Girlfriends.
Oh, that was a bad mistake. Let's
It's
cut
okay.
that out.
Oh no.
Sorry.
Look, edit that out.
There was no spaces
Sorry,
for us
JK.
back then, though.
There weren't.
Yeah.
And
No, there
I
was
was
no space
promoting
for that.
something else, which was so sad. And I was promoting that because Girlfriends, I had gotten that job because of Girlfriends, and it was so sad. And we talk about this. If it had been on today, it'd be a different.
It'd be a
different
different ball game.
We could be on the Breakfast Club every week.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because y'all raise topics every week as well. Like I could think of the N-word episode. That was super ahead of its time, because every now and then it's a discussion, even now on social media, a white person says the N-word on stage, but y'all did that.
But also too about Tony talking about her skin complexion, about being too dark and stuff,
or being too light. I mean, I didn't.
Yeah.
I won't even go there. If it wasn't for this show, people still, what are you? And that's like your life when you're mixed. And the mix factor I actually asked for. She was just going to be an incredibly light-skinned black girl. I was like, can we just talk about the fact that she's a mix? Because I don't know how many black women I've run into in the world now that are like, oh my God, you're representing me. Oh my God. I was like, yeah, I asked for it. And they were like, you're going to take a lot of heat. And I was like, that's fine. Bring it on. Let's joke about it. Let's talk about it. But don't bury it under the rug like this secret, dirty little.
Oh,
that episode?
Yeah, no, I've seen that one. The one I think you're talking. I've seen that one.
What was that called? First of all, Jill has the best memory in the world.
She's
you
like
can
our
be like Jill. What she was like? That was episode.
She's our archivist.
She's our archivist.
She's our archivist. She'll like footnotes. Let's see.
But no, that one.
What was the name of that episode? It was when
Oh my God.
Sister to sister.
Sister.
Okay, sister.
Very good.
Thank you.
I literally thought our show was going to dismantle.
Yeah.
It
was.
We were talking about what the definition of blackness was. So the difference, we were multicam, unlike this show. So we had a studio audience. So we would do a Tuesday table read, block. So we would rehearse, but it was producer run through, network run through. So the Thursday was producer run through. So that was when all of the writers would come. We would go through every scene and we would talk after every scene to kind of pull the scene apart. There was one scene. Oh my God!
Which one?
I don't know. We were sitting in the living room.
It was when the. Was it your sister?
Your sister.
Which one?
Your adopted
There was a
sister.
couple. There were so many.
No,
It was
your
so
Caucasian
intense.
Sister had a wrap on.
Yes.
And she was,
Yes.
She was saying
she was
stuff.
defining what blackness
She was defining what black was.
And it was, I thought we were going to dismantle.
Yeah.
We got stuck in that scene, and I think that conversation went on for, I don't know, a good hour and a half.
At least an
It was
hour.
uncomfortable.
We never got finished. And shout out to Mara because
She was ahead of it, ahead of her time.
is the one that broke all those stories
Yep.
and gave us the environment for all of that.
That's right.
It was her conscious and choiceful decision that it was for women of different skin tones, that we all represented different parts of being a black woman. And in those episodes where they were hefty, she had her own specific and particular vision of what she was wanting to tell, whether we disagreed or not.
What was so uncomfortable about the conversation?
It was a conversation about race
relations.
It gets heavy, and identity, and like how people feel, and how you defend that, and how you go out in the world and represent yourself, how you speak. You know, are you black if you do not speak a certain way? Is that black
certain
enough?
vernacular.
Like, what are you?
And shout out to the actress. I'm sure she's amazing and great in her life
Your memory
right
must
now.
not be that good because you can't remember
No,
her
she's
name.
being respectful.
Yeah, but I'm just
I can
saying.
feel it. I can feel it.
But
I remember the
mean,
woman.
she had her take on it. And so she was speaking a certain kind of way, and she was putting extras on stuff that made me personally feel uncomfortable. But
There's a lot of that in the black community. You know, where you live, your zip code, where you went to school, how you speak, girl from the hood, what that sounds like, what that
means.
what that means, and what
Yeah.
is that, and what's put on you, and stereotypes that you walk into the world with because of where you grew up.
And I think imagine in your own personal environments having those kinds of conversations, how heated they get, how uncomfortable they get, the difference of opinion that occurs, but you're in the safety of your environment. We were doing this as a show in a work environment where then whatever was decided, we as actresses would have to go on camera for the world and name that and say that. Now, in that sense, thank God there wasn't social media. But there weren't conversations like this happening on television. And so we were doing them and we were going to be the faces of them. And I don't know about you guys, but it scared me sometimes.
Yeah, it did.
It would terrify me if the opinion that my character was going to say was completely opposing to what I
your own belief
believe.
system.
And how were people going to know that? It's one thing when you play a character and you're dealing with like, okay, I don't plant plants, but I'm going to plant plants as this character. But when you're dealing with things that are so core to who you are as a person, race, identity, culture, class, these kinds of things that define you as a person, that you've had long conversations with yourself about, that experiences that you've had have informed you about, and then you have to do something contrary to that on camera.
it's so
It's
hard.
terrifying.
It's very hard.
And then also too, being black women, it's a different thing because you want to be responsible as well.
Yep.
But we're actors.
Yep.
And we
And
don't, we're not
say
producers.
you're not
and-
curing brain cancer.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
preached to us.
It's
about
a
But we-
fine line.
But now we know culture influences policy.
Sure.
It influences all of it. And we as individuals, all understood our responsibility.
Y'all did even back then.
Absolutely.
That's
That's
why
part
we're
of what
so
those
heated.
arguments.
She had woke women.
Yeah, but this one.
Let me tell you.
Listen, I know she's.
I'm from, look. Jill made a point. You come in, there is a responsibility. And it is, you have to remember you have a job to do. That's first and foremost. But you do walk in, like Tracy said, you do walk in with a certain responsibility and a certain biography that you come into the story with, Me being from Berkeley, my father being political, I went to UC Berkeley, I lived in Africa the first 2 years of my life, so I studied media representation of the minority, so I had a huge thing with physical comedy. So, but not to the point where I didn't want to entertain, but from the point of what is offensive, what is stereotypical, what is introducing a stereotype. So we all
of us
had a voice. We fought for those characters.
And we were all vocal.
Yes, all of us.
We were
too
all
vocal.
vocal. We pushed up against things that I think would have been an assumption that we would just do. And I will also say, none of us were producers. None of us had a stake other than our very small, very good in the context of life, but in the context of Hollywood, we had not high salaries. We were all new actors when we started. And I think now, like, people are like, why don't you get it on Netflix? Like, we have no power.
We have no power.
Really?
We are not producers on the show. We don't have, we were all in the same position. But what we did have was our voices and what we were going to say. And on a regular, we spoke up.
They had woke actors.
Yeah, they didn't know what they were inheriting.
But I think that's what made it so wonderful, though, because
us,
we did care. I cared about the kids. I care about the women watching. And they're like, why do you care? And I'm like, because I do. Even things like drugs and huge. The drug episode
about us fighting with each other.
Yes.
We kept pushing back against the fact that
we didn't know. See, I was not told that my slap first season finale that it connected. Remember? No. We didn't know until it aired.
Right.
They put in a
because she didn't slap me.
I didn't slap her, but they put it in, and I was so upset about
make
that
it look
because I don't like how that. I don't like women fighting. I don't like
and
that.
we fought a lot.
That's
There was a lot of that stuff
the
for
physical
us.
stuff. I didn't like that.
I mean, well, also I'll make it a little bit funny because y'all remember the season when the jacuzzi came? Oh my God!
Talk about me too.
We were no. We
I'm
were
kidding. No, I didn't mean it like that. It just meant always in a.
It was
Gotcha.
it was so intense. I mean, all of a sudden we had to be. I was like in
season
bikini.
4. It was
You would
season
look
4.
through. You're like,
it was
oh,
season
come on,
4.
going. Yes.
It was season 4.
Showcasing our body. We're 4 smart women, and we have mouths and minds, and we're more than
just our bodies.
just our bodies.
But we did have to work out a lot.
We did.
I never got in the jacuzzi, by the way.
Never?
She spent
because they were living together.
She spent an entire
Because she
episode
was
in the
living with
jacuzzi.
William at that time,
They
right?
said, Persia, you're gonna live in the jacuzzi. I was like, what? I just start working out and not eating anything good for a year. They were like, yes.
If you saw a scene and it said William's backyard, you're like,
oh, the jacuzzi.
you knew that's where they put the jacuzzi.
Yeah.
So you knew that you were going to be in a bathing suit.
Having Mara made it easy to push back, though, right? Having a woman executive producer.
In hindsight, it made it safe in that she was our community.
Yeah.
But she was still the showrunner, executive producer who had her vision. It was her material, and so we were pushing back up against the person whose art she had created, and we were saying, no, I don't want to say this, or no, this doesn't feel like the right thing for me. But yeah, I mean, we spoke up.
Yeah, we did.
And that dialogue maintained.
I remember once Tony had a problem with William dating a white woman, and I was like, that doesn't sound like a Tony line. Tony doesn't care. Does she make money? Like, it doesn't seem like a Tony line.
Yeah, that'd have been a contradiction later on in the show.
But that's what she was trying to achieve in that particular episode.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Percy, did you model the character of Lynn after yourself? Because she seems to have like a lot of your current passions.
No, but once again, I really care about a lot of things, and I was willing to put myself out there in the way that things I love and care about, for example, animal welfare or being mixed, I said, go ahead and make fun of it because I'd rather that than no one speak about these things. And it's kind of fun to represent that girl who's a little bit eclectic, a little bit out there. And all those things. I know those women groups, like we said, the women we've run into, it does exist. That you have your friend that's like, oh, here she is with her quinoa and her new social affair that she's worried about in the world. And I thought that was, so it wasn't really like modeling it after, it was more like we would talk about, and I just kept lending pieces of my life to them because I thought each year it went on, why not let it be a little closer to who I am? Because, with series, it's weird how people think you're like your character when you're not anyway. So they're going to do that anyway. They think that Jill was nothing like Tony in real life.
That was hard.
But it is hard. So I thought it's also hard when people, because I'm also a single mother who never loafed off of anyone a day in her life, and I've just there's a lot of things that was not sexual. I'm raising a little kid by myself, but there's an alternate world where some of Lynn was fun to imagine. Like if I took a different path, it could be that. So it just took I shared a lot of myself on purpose so that those ideas could be out there and represented.
Are y'all friends in real life?
Yeah.
Like what level of friend though?
We don't talk all the time.
We don't talk all the
We
time.
haven't seen each other a lot.
But every time I see them, it's like no time has passed.
Yeah, and I will say this: we also spent a lot. I mean, that was a hefty amount of time we
Think
spent
about it.
together.
That's like, we talked about it. That was almost like half of our lives almost.
Yeah. I attribute so much of what I learned at the beginning of my career. This was it.
Yeah.
It was a good 8 years, and we did 22 or 24 a year.
22.
Time was 24.
It was shit,
Yeah.
How did that affect y'all view of the business though? Because y'all had so much success early, it seems.
I don't think I knew
Yeah,
what
but
it
we
was.
had success in a particular community.
Yeah.
We did.
Damn.
It wasn't as, I don't want to say global, but not, it just.
It was
was
very
black.
white and black.
the black.
Yeah.
It
Which
was
is
like
the goal now,
the
but-
roles that I would get
That's
were
what I'm
like,
saying. You see the difference.
be Maya. I get roles, I want you to be Maya. Even throw in an oh hell yeah. It was that. So we were a particular, we hit a certain demographic, I think.
Now, when we talk about closure, I hope y'all don't think that this episode is closure for the Die Hard Girlfriend fans. How did y'all feel?
It's a kiss.
Yeah, but we want more than that. Like we got things that we need to wrap up. Like how did y'all feel
this.
not getting that closure?
That was hard.
Yeah.
Really
I mean,
hard.
also keep in mind, Jill left us. So that ending was no bueno.
Because that finale where Joan and Tony were at that time.
It was bad.
Yeah, that finale, there was no closure.
Yeah, and then the last episode that we actually shot was during the writer's strike. I directed it.
Yeah.
None of our regular crew and regular people were there.
Yeah.
So it was so no closure. Like we
really
had
ended
we had no party.
Nothing.
Nothing.
It was literally, we actually didn't even know, really.
Yeah,
We just sort
just
of, and then it
disintegrated.
just kind
just
of
got a
went
phone
into
call.
the abyss.
Like, it's over.
But it's crazy that I don't know who knows, or a wealth of probably people don't know. I had like maybe 5-6 lunch meetings with Mara. Like I was to come back whenever it was going to be. We were to come. I was to come.
We all
back.
knew what the story was.
Yeah.
There was going to be closure.
If the
Oh
show-
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
I was to come back for like maybe 4 episodes on the end or whatever like that, and it never happened.
And the strike, and then they just, our show, CW at the time,
Just went away.
I think it wasn't financially the smart decision, and we just went
Cleaning
away.
house, they
cleaned
called
house.
it. Like,
And it was
they
a
just
different
sweeped out.
tone then as well, different network.
Yeah, it was just a different world.
Yeah.
And our show, I don't think, was as important to them as it was to our community.
How did the dynamic
said.
of the show
Right?
change
Yeah.
after Jill left?
It was so different.
You build, it's kind of like having 4 children and one leaves off for college.
Yeah, it's
and then you're in the house and you kind of have to, it's never, it would be if any of us were to leave. We were the 4 of us. So
And then I
it was
also
comfortable.
think, shows when they go on that long, 6, 7, 8 seasons and stuff like that, the dynamics do start to change because there's the legs of the show. It
Yeah.
starts to change, But it was really weird. It was weird for a lot of reasons. It was weird because we didn't know there was what are we doing? What are the stories that we're telling? It was weird to have one of our arms gone and to realize that the show itself would move on if any of us left, which is a strange thought.
Now there was always speculation that it was beef between you, Jill, and the rest of the women? Was there?
No,
It wasn't.
No, see, okay, let me say this. I've said it before, but let me say it again. So, what a lot of people don't know is Girlfriends was my third audition in town. So, the first audition I booked, second one I didn't, third one I booked, Girlfriends. So, I'm on this show for 6 years. I know no casting people. I know no producers. I mean, they don't know my name, is what I'm saying. Studios don't know me. Networks don't know me. And so I have a 6-year contract. So I booked Girlfriends at 25. So now, not only am I a woman, I'm a black woman. I'm like 31, 32 now. And so I'm thinking, I got to get stuff going.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, like,
What's next?
What's next. And so fear played a part. Yeah, and but you know what I will say? Studios and networks, they can fire you at any time if they choose. But we have a contract. And there was something that I really loved about having the conversation with myself. Do I want to sign a new contract? Where do I want to go in my personal career? Like, I have that choice because my 6-year contract was up. And at the time, it felt right for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you have any conversations with the rest of the
I didn't,
cast?
and I do. That's the fans, them first, for sure, I regret. But the reason why I didn't is because I was afraid that, just the whole business aspect of it, if one were to say, like, to agents, it's the whole business aspect of, I got nervous about that. Mm-hmm. But then number 2, like, the fans, I didn't think about, by the way, I'm green, I'm new.
And there was no social media.
And
so.
I didn't know that you have to make an announcement.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
That you
That's
are
Now it'd be a whole
like
Instagram post.
you're
Yeah,
changing
that's what I'm saying.
a job.
Like, it was a
I
very-
didn't know that. But I regret, if I could go back, I would definitely do things differently, for sure.
Did any of y'all think that Jill was being selfish in her decision?
I sent them flowers on their first day. I did send them flowers on their first
the
day
thing
back
is,
to work.
one thing
I
you
did.
cannot do is tell someone or project how you would do something onto someone else. She made a choice that was right for her, and that was her choice, and we have to respect that. And we did.
I'll be honest. It was we were in the trenches, the 4 of us together. It was so hard to navigate what we were navigating. Looking back, I think we did an amazing job.
Yeah, I think we did.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we were in our little dressing rooms. We all shared a bathroom.
Yeah.
Like, we were on top of each other. And we did a really good job considering what was there. We love
Switched
each other.
studios
We
as well.
switched studios, like
Yeah.
all these different things. There was no roadmap for us in terms of how to do that, and I think we were navigating it together.
Yeah.
It was scary a lot of the time, and I think we did the best in trying to trust each other
Yes.
and sort of support each other as we knew how.
That's
We
it.
were all really young,
Very young.
and very green in our careers. Like
It
all
was
of us
all
were,
of our.
and
It was our first big, job. A series regular.
yeah, it was a lot to navigate.
We were right, Persia.
I mean,
I
it was
just
my
can't see
second
him.
series regular.
Yeah.
But it was my first. But yeah.
It was.
No, it
we
was
had been up, but
big.
nothing on this level.
Yeah.
I had done something on Showtime, but went a year, 2 years.
Like,
but
it
this
changed
was,
our
I've done stuff
lives.
too.
It
You
it
did,
changed
Yeah,
but
our
this was
lives.
like our
Changer.
big, and we
This
grew
was-
up together.
Yeah. Did you feel?
Oh, sorry. No, it's all right.
It's funny, we haven't had this conversation as the 4 of us. The
Ever?
truth is, no, we haven't been together, the 4 of us, since
Like, that conversation we've never had.
The Essence luncheon
Yes.
with Mara, but
Yeah,
we've
that's right.
never had a chance to have this conversation.
Yeah.
And truthfully, it's sort of been like, it's not a necessary conversation.
Well, I'm happy that we had it, though.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
happy that you got to hear my voice.
But I mean, I've heard you say those things,
Yeah.
and I've had no, I mean, the only thing I felt was, oh, that's really scary.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because part of our, like, we had 4, it was
Chemistry.
arms and legs, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden one of our legs
Yeah.
or arms was gone, and there was not much explanation about it, and you want to respect somebody's choice, but
That's
you
it.
don't know how, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, because it did seem like the beginning of the end. And then it just abruptly
That's one of the
ended.
things that's one of the things that really, I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional, but that is one of the things that bothered me when I would hear people say, well, what are you guys going to do without Tony? These women are still doing a show.
Mm-hmm.
But it was hard without you, Jill.
No, I get, well,
Tissue, please. Kleenex. Thank you.
thank you. No, but but what I'm
I
saying
hear
is like
what-
when
I hear
other
what you're
people
saying.
would
Yeah.
say that, I'm like, you have these talented actors that are still working on a beautiful show. And it became a topic that I wish it hadn't been.
Understandable, and I can understand that. But I also have to say that the four of us were the girlfriends.
Yeah.
And it's like, with any Destiny's Child,
Yeah.
Supremes, whatever, like it's understandable. The place that you start is where people get invested and you fall in love,
Yeah.
And so there was...
They didn't know.
Yeah,
They didn't know.
and I think we didn't know. And I do think it was the beginning. We had done 6 years of extraordinary television. You had done 130 something episodes with all of us, and then we did 170 some or whatever it ended up at. Because we did 2 seasons after. And I mean, I don't know. Looking back, to a certain extent, it's all a blur.
She
I
doesn't remember anything. She didn't remember something.
You know what?
good at
You
it.
just keep going. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like not to, you just, the marathon continues. You know what I mean? You have to keep moving. And I think that's what we did. And we did our best.
A final question on this, Jill. In hindsight, you think you made the right decision back then? Or would you have done it different?
I don't regret leaving, no. I don't regret that. The way, not the communication, I would do that differently. But I think I made the best choice for myself at the time, yes.
Got you.
Yeah.
Now, Golden, had the show continued, do you think you finally would have found someone to paint Jabari's room?
Real quick.
dead.
Real quick.
Possibly. I mean, because
You
those
mean Jumanji?
Jumanji,
Yeah.
Jabubu. I mean, those are really real questions. Jabari's room, real quick. Even when I'm at the grocery store, people will stop me. I can see people following me down the produce aisle. That's Maya. Is Jabari? Where's Jabari? But I love that. People really felt as if Maya was their cousin or their
for sure.
BFF, and they really felt a strong connection. But yeah, you never know. Possibly.
Yeah, because we get so emotionally invested in the show, like even with the character of Joan. She always daydreamed about her big day, her wedding, and it seemed like it was about to happen, but it didn't. Like, what would Joan's wedding have looked like? You
Oh
think?
my gosh.
I don't know, but I have to say I think Joan's big love affair was Tony. I think that was the biggest relationship of her life. And not that she was in love with her in a romantic way, but I think that was the big relationship of her life. I don't know what her wedding would have looked like. I don't know what my wedding will look like. You know what I mean? I think in some way, for me personally, I have allowed Bo Johnson marrying Dre to be the evolution of what I was not able to play out on Girlfriends. That I have the family that Joan wanted. I have the husband that Joan would have longed for. I went from being a lawyer to a doctor. And I'm playing out a different part of that person, yeah, I don't know.
Who would have been the maid of honor? Because, I mean, you and Tony was beefing at the time. So who would have been the maid of honor?
I
at
think
the
Tony
wedding?
would have come back for the wedding. I mean, Mara had mapped out the story. We all were told the story. She knew exactly what it was going to be if it was on TV. I think Mara has mapped it out if it were to be a movie, in terms of where and how things were to find their way. But I don't know what I mean, we weren't writers on the show.
Yeah.
So I don't know what my fantasy would have been. But I think I probably, maid of honor, I probably would have made it so all 3 were my maids of honor.
Possibly.
And then, what was Keisha's name?
Monica.
Monica. Oh, Monica. Yeah.
Are y'all down to do a Girlfriends movie?
If-
I feel like that's the only way to get
Well,
close.
I mean, I mean, if navigated correctly, written
If
properly.
navigated correctly.
Well, you know
and-
someone?
I mean, I think, this episode, when you talk about lack of diversity, I think the reason there hasn't been a Girlfriends movie or a Girlfriends miniseries because of a lack of diversity in Hollywood. These white people just don't know what y'all mean to the culture.
I don't
That's
think
just the
they
truth
do.
in
I
that.
don't
Yeah.
think they do. No. I think Twitter and social media, absolutely, you get to hear what
Yes.
we mean and what
And
we
it's
held.
a strong voice, and
Yeah.
it's like, how do you get all those voices and
it's not-
put? I know, and put them on someone's desk and say, now, put a price on that.
It's girlfriends merch. I got Joan, Lynn, Tony, and Maya T-shirts.
But
I have
again,
girlfriends hats.
Apparently there was a perfume that I
Which
never
I
knew
had
about.
no idea about.
Yeah, very
was a
nice.
perfume,
Yeah, I
yeah.
got them.
Apparently Joan smelled pretty good.
Yeah.
It smelled
Yeah,
wonderful.
Thank you very much. You smelled lovely.
I mean, I love them.
Oh my gosh.
Very light. Yeah. They were all lovely.
Persia, I wonder why you're not an auntie on Mixed Gist or something.
Oh.
Because how important do you think it was to have the representation of your character specifically?
God, so
on the show?
important. I mean, so important. I think it was just, there were so few people I saw, and like I told you, asking the writers to go ahead and allow Lynn to be mixed and to be that black girl that is trying to sometimes find her way, raised in a white community. But you know what's funny, being black in America to me, because I grew up in the Bahamas, it is, until I was 8, I was in Nassau, Bahamas, and I felt like coming to America that all the black people I met here were kind of mixed, meaning that you're in a white country trying to, like, black people I know, they like, oh, I like this kind of music, I like this, pick and choose something, the things that you connect with, but we're just recently allowed in magazines and on TV, and you come from a place where the presidents were always black, and then I just felt like everybody here finds their way, but she's just the extreme version where, you know, but a lot of people I know grew up where they're one of the only black kids in an all-white school, and that was just my whole life. My life in real life, it was a mixture of the two. It wasn't that extreme, but finding that voice and being able to put that out there is just such a relief, because everybody hates each other so much by trying to make one group one thing and one group, and when you are a physical representation of integration, you stand as a threat to people who are narrow-minded. And being to me, I feel that being a black woman and having that on your shoulder is a different weight that you carry every day of your life, and you're just constantly defending yourself. So putting it on TV is so great, because people go, oh, you can look like that too. And then they literally stop. Like Lisa Bonet was the first one for me that made life easy. Because people go, oh, you black, okay, but you like her. And then I was like, okay, thank God. Because it's just, without that, people are just going, you know, I get everything, Indian, Middle Eastern. You're just like, no, I love those people. That is not what I am. Thank you. And now, you know, putting that out there. And everybody's so divided. So, yeah, it was really important to me. And I still think it's nice that Mixed This. I was so excited. I was like, yes, Tracy.
But you know, I played a black woman on Girlfriends.
Yeah.
And Blackish was the first time that I actually was able to play a mixed woman. Because throughout my career, I'm a black woman, but I'm mixed. And so Mixed-ish will be really interesting. And we're also exploring it through my childhood. So it's the 80s, which is a different time than we're in now. So you get to sort of, through the very binary world of the 80s, see how it is mirroring the world we're in today in 2019. And you can explore things in a different way because it's a different time period.
What is that biracial struggle like? That's for you.
Woo!
I mean,
Tracy first.
Well, I don't know that I would call it a struggle. It hasn't been a struggle for me. I've had a different experience than it being a struggle. It is, I mean, I really related to a lot of what Persia said in the way you expressed it, because you did that really eloquently and beautifully. But I don't know that it's a struggle for me. It is a particular experience. But I find that my experience has allowed me to be a translator in many ways. I've had to have an understanding of both cultures with an open heart and a compassion that, you know, from a young age, knowing that I don't judge a book by its cover, it has really inspired me to look for how I am the same instead of like where the humanity connection is. But at the same time know that like I don't believe in a colorblind world. I think that the beauty of our world is all of the different cultures and textures and skin tones and that we come from. That's where the juice comes from. That's where the joy and all of it exists. And I think what I come from has allowed me to have an open lens for that, sort of a willingness to see that. But it certainly hasn't been a struggle for me. But I also had a different upbringing, you know. I think that fame and the experience that I come from removed some of those things from my early childhood experiences because of the privilege that I come from.
Right.
You know, privilege does allow you to navigate things differently. But as an adult, I'm a Black woman.
Persia?
I found it to be a sink or swim situation. I think that when you're really small and you're confronted with the question every day, what are you? It's so complicated. You're just a little kid. And I remember my mom didn't want me to know about racism. So when we moved to America in the Bahamas, it didn't exist. I never got asked anything. There's a rainbow of brown kids in the school. Nobody's ever questioned anything. And I got to America, everyone was like, what are you? And I had an accent, I had a Caribbean dialect like this. So can you imagine? And this big mane of hair that was never cut. And the kids were like, what are you? And my mom was like, oh God. Well, just tell them you're human, honey. So I went to school. And they said, what race are you? I said, human race. And those kids were like, you were about to get beat down. And I came back and I had been like hit, I had been pushed. And I remember I was like, Mom, okay, you gotta stop. What am I?
You're like, I need an
I need
answer.
to know numbers, percentages, and like I need to know my little bit of Native American. Give me the percentages. I need it. And then she finally did. She goes, I don't want to. I was like, you got to, because we're in America now. So just hand it to me. And then she did, and she told me all this stuff, and I was like, shoot, okay. And then I went in and I started, just sort of representing. But then the bigger thing was I lived in a white neighborhood, and I was bused because it was interracial busing, bused into an all-black school. So I went from being white cracker to, we won't go there, but I got every Cuban, black, every derogatory name that you could call someone I got in the white neighborhood. So daily I was like, what the hell am I? I'm getting it on both sides. And then I just said, this is it's all BS. I gotta just own who I am, represent who I am. Here I am, I'm a person, I'm from the Bahamas. I don't even know, that's even more difficult being like in America. But just representing who you are, owning who you are, and truly realizing that ignorance comes all across the board by all humans. People can be ignorant and not taking it personally. So I felt like it was a sink or swim. I either had to rise up and be strong and have ultimate compassion towards all humanity and love myself and love my blackness, and then also love my mother for what she was trying to do in her whiteness, not understanding black people at all, but thinking she was black. It was very, she was one of those people. She was like, I can't help my skin color. I was like, Mom. But she did. She thought she was a black woman. And
she was transracial?
But she said she identified black. She
was an original transracial?
She was original, yes.
But I was going to say blonde, also, my mom is black and famous, so I was black from growing up. You know what I mean? So there was no question. I didn't have to do.
She was telling me I was black, and she was telling me she was black, and I was like,
I just meant in terms of I was thinking as you were talking, because I love hearing that. Yeah.
Two moms.
The difference in the mom, and also because people knew who my mom was. As a matter of fact, I felt responsible
you mean people
through
seeing that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So people knew who my mom was all through growing up because she was my mom. And so the immediate assumption is I'm black. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I felt responsible for the fact that no one knew who my dad was. That's why I put Ellis in my name. My dad's a lovely man, and that's why I put Ellis in my name. You and my dad had the same birthday. So Robert Ellis Silverstein, that's my father's name, and that was the reason I put it in my name, Tracy Ellis Ross, so that people also knew that I was my father's child. People, my mom's famous, so people know that that's someone's phone's going off. People know that, so it was really important to me that they knew both. But Persia, you just explained all that really beautifully.
Thank you. And it's one little tiny thing is my mom every day of my childhood would say, I am so sorry I'm not Diana Ross. And I would go, Mommy, I love you. I don't know what you're talking about. She goes like,
why have you never said that?
I told you that. That's why she wouldn't come to the set.
Oh, really?
Yes, because it was her ultimate nightmare, because she'd be like, they're expecting to see Diana Ross, and then I show up, and I'm this white lady with this Irish hair, and I was like, Mom, I love you. And then when I got the show, and she said, oh my God, I can't go to the set. This is like her ultimate fear.
Oh my God, Persia.
Was that now?
I've never heard that story.
I've never heard that story, which means you never told it.
I did tell it.
But if Jill
that was 20 years ago. It was 20 years ago. I did tell it. Because mom was scared to come to set.
Did y'all ever feel that level of intimidation, knowing that Tracy was Diana's daughter?
No, that's not. It's
I shook my head like I can answer that question.
Well, her mother is the reason why I'm an actress. We've had many conversations. Like, not that she was the first brown-skinned woman that has ever been on television or in film, but she was the first person that I saw in Lady Sings the Blues, which is very special to me. And so, I thought, like, wow, that would be so cool to be able to do something like that. But it wasn't until I saw her, I was like, wow, that's possible. So Tracy's always known that, like, I hold her mom to a very high stand, just like she's just up there in awe for me. So I was nervous.
What about you, Golden?
I don't think I was nervous is not the word. I think I was highly anxious because my experience, growing up, single mom, my mom has raised my brother and I on our own. My mother's very light-skinned, so there was that aesthetic disconnection that I had with my mother. And she worked 2 to 3 jobs, grew up in the Bay Area, so my brother and I were always, it was the TV. This is what happened. So I constantly, my mom's my hero. She's a strong, conscious, beautiful woman. But I always felt like Miss Barbara. But there was that, I wanted to see this, and watching movies, TV, seeing Lady Sings the Blues, seeing Diana Ross be a dark-skinned Black woman, sensitive, sensual, vivacious, smart, creative, full of life, and just glamorous in her clothes. And I was like, whoa, who is this woman? Who is this? And my daughter was even her for Halloween.
Wow.
Yeah, like she has just sort of bookmarked, and I cry because it's important. And we're raising these little girls, and now my turn.
Kleenex, please.
Sorry. It's important for them to see themselves. And so I thank Tracy's mother for that, because sometimes when you're growing up, you're visual and you feel things, but you see, and that's what creates that feeling. And so seeing her mother, it just really inspired me. So I wouldn't say nervous, but I was highly anxious to see someone that I felt like emulated an aesthetic that I desperately needed during my upbringing.
Now, did Queen Diana Ross ever pull up on set?
She came to work.
Oh yeah,
she came,
absolutely.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Amazing.
It was
My
great.
mom is
So
such a mom.
amazing.
She is.
She
She
came in
really
that
is.
hair and makeup trailer and was like grabbing her
She
hair
was
and like
trying to do my hair. She was trying to do that thing with the Marcel iron.
Yeah.
I was like, Mom, you're gonna burn my hair.
But you don't want to stalk her, you know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to be like this. But I mean, that would have been weird, right?
so amazing.
Tracy gave me
But
like
she
one of
was-
the greatest gifts.
Yeah.
We were, we were in New York, and I think it was upfronts, like, and she asked me when was I leaving, and I don't know when I was leaving, and also too, like, my brother was, in Rybrook at the time. He ended up moving to Greenwich, but she said, "Do you want to come to my mom? Do you want to come to my house? You want to meet my mom?" So I went to her childhood home. That was one of those gifts that I was like inside the house, I was trying to play it so cool. Like, I've been here before, like, I'm cool. But inside, I was just like, I was so super duper excited.
One of the only people. It's been so many. It's my life is here. My home is there, but so many people have.
I'm
was
going to
lovely.
say that I was so lucky. I worked with Tracy's sister, Rhonda Ross, in a soap right before I booked Girlfriends when I was in New York, in Another World. And I was working on the show for a while, and I was sharing a trailer with Rhonda because I had to bring my daughter to work. I didn't happen to watch her that day. And Rhonda was so sweet, and I didn't know who her mom was at all. But fans are everywhere, even extras on the show. And they were coming over going, "I love your mom." And I just thought, people love her mom. I don't know her mom. They just love her mom,
Nice
you know?
lady.
And then I don't know how I didn't make the connection. I was very young. Anyway, and then so I loved Rhonda. And when the show ended, that soap ended, we did the finale, and then I came to LA and I got Girlfriends, and I called Rhonda, and I was like, "Rhonda, you should go up for this show. It's called Girlfriends." And she was like, "My sister's in that show." And I was like, "What?" So for me, it was so exciting to meet the other Tracy, to meet the other, Ross sister. So I felt like really excited, not intimidated, but I felt like it's so exciting seeing how grounded and lovely your family is. It was just a testament to this is so exciting. What wonderful, beautiful energy. And then she was once again an amazing, dynamic woman. So I don't know. I felt really lucky to have Buzz. Like, this is my second. I'm destined to work with the Ross sisters.
How ahead of its time do you think Girlfriends was?
Oh,
Very.
Good 20 years ahead of its time.
Well, no one was bringing up those issues during that time. You know,
we tackled huge.
I mean, from
things.
HIV,
Yeah.
Chlamydia.
Yes.
chlamydia,
Chlamydia.
class issues,
Color issues.
abortion,
Weaves.
Weaves.
Drugs.
fibroids,
Drugs.
Interracial,
fibroids,
interracial dating.
interracial dating.
The fact that Toni didn't want her child and she would have possibly had, an abortion. Like that whole journey that she was on, that she said she didn't want to have the baby at first.
Yeah.
Like a lot of stuff that people weren't touching.
And more than that, we were a show that was talking about the relationship between women
Yes.
and between black women and our support and love of each other. And to me, that is missing on television. There's not enough of it, of those stories being told. And in movies, in the way that we love and friend in a universal way.
in a real way that doesn't have a joke attached to it all the time.
All the time, yeah. And that, I mean, wait, what was the church episode? Because our friendship went through so much, but
Right,
that
with
was with
Donnie
Donnie McClurkin.
McClurkin.
That was an extraordinary episode.
Yeah.
I think Girlfriends was ahead of its time. I also think it's timeless.
I was going to ask, are there any current shows that you think represent black women the way Girlfriends did?
I don't know, but there's a lot of really good shows on TV.
There's
a lot of really good
Insecure
TV
is
right
a
now.
great show. I mean, I think
show.
it touches. We talked about it earlier. I think it does touch upon our pop culture. It's a certain demographic, but I think like Issa Rae is brilliant at taking, everyday that world and turning it into something that's really connect with it.
Relatable and connection.
Visually taking pop culture, black culture, making it relevant, making it sexy, making it, and not just for African Americans, but I think it's relatable.
They specifically compare Yvonne Orji to Jill Marie Jones.
I know. I get that. It's so funny. I was somewhere, and I was at a grocery store somewhere. I don't remember the town, but I love your show. I was like, thank you. He was like, what's the name of the show? And I was like saying, what show is he talking about? You know what I mean? Because it depends. I mean, if you have a lot of tattoos or whatever, like Ash vs. Evil Dead, but I was like, girl, and she's like, no, the one on HBO. I was like, oh, that's not me. Yeah.
That's what I say when I'm like, I'm not on the cooking show.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
People are like, oh my God, I love your show. I
Yes.
watch you every day. Oh my
gosh.
God. And I'm like, every day? I'm like, do you mean the cooking show?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not me. No, it is. I'm like, no, it's not.
Yikes.
Oh, that's funny.
What role did Kelsey Grammer play in Girlfriends?
He was our executive
Producer.
producer.
Yeah.
But I mean, did he have any insight, any say on what
He was actually
going
the
on?
one looking. Apparently, the story is he was the one looking for a
Yeah,
show
he's the
about
one. Like he was
about
the,
women
he
of
was the
color.
one that started the
Really?
He was a
whole-
catalyst, and Mara
Yeah.
had this show.
And there was somebody that he knew Mara. This is the story that I was told that because he wanted to do a show about African American women, and so someone that they mutually know, she or he was like, I have a writer I think that you should meet because she has this script, and that's how it all started.
Yeah,
That's the
she
story
met-
that
He
I
had a
know.
production deal at Paramount,
Yeah.
and he was looking for shows to
But I
produce.
love that he was looking for this.
Specifically.
Yeah, thank God for
He
white people like
he
that.
doesn't get he doesn't get the shine. He doesn't get the shine that I think that he deserves. Like I think he's missing a lot out of the conversation. Because he really was instrumental.
Yeah,
He was specific.
Yeah,
Very
Yeah.
specific.
But you never hear about him in our story.
Yeah, because for him to be thinking like that in 2000, you can't even get these guys to think like that now.
Oh, I know. It's very true. It's very true.
This is my final question, because this
Don't let it end!
no, exactly. This can't be it.
Yeah.
For the Girlfriends, like it has to be something else after this. It has to be, because I'm sure that they're going to see the reaction to this on social media. They're going to realize, like, man, people really do love this show. So it's going to have to be a movie, a miniseries that gives us some closure or something.
Or some kind of really cool
Or like a
spin-off.
6-season, like a
Like a
how
little
Big Little
miniseries,
Lies,
a
like a
miniseries.
six little miniseries thing.
You know, because the chemistry is still there. I mean, clearly.
It has not gone anywhere.
It's not gone away. I mean,
It's actually hilarious.
It's like it's getting on a bike. It just, you don't lose it. We don't
We
lose
feel
it.
really bad for your crew because we were.
It's hilarious. It's been hilarious.
It has been so funny.
I would like to know how each of y'all would want it to end? If you had the ultimate girlfriend send-off. Starting with you, Persia.
What are you talking about? The miniseries?
The
or?
show,
Like
yeah.
what the story
Yeah.
would be?
So, yeah.
How it would end.
So clearly it's a miniseries everybody wants.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
that would be
Okay.
nice.
That would
Like
be
a-
nice.
Like in a
Something
finite,
Yeah.
a contained little
Contained.
situation.
Little box.
Yeah.
Highly funded.
Yeah, exactly. Highly funded. Yes.
Highly funded.
Sought after.
Yeah.
How would you want Persia's,
Lynn.
Lynn.
character to wrap up?
Well, you know what's funny, because it goes back to some of my old ideas way, way, way back that we did talk about all of this. And I remember even talking to Mara and talking to writers about it. But I think Lynn's end would be that she actually got really successful and did music and became like a producer and actually did it. And probably not even necessarily in this country. One of the
her
reasons we
way.
used to joke about, but like, go to Europe and do it there and then come back, because that's one of the old ways that people of color used to get famous back in the day, was to leave this country, people love you over there, and then come back, because of the discrimination. But that's kind of a throwback to that theory. But yeah, I think it'd be fun for her to get it together.
Jill, how would you wrap up Tony?
Goodness. Whew, that's a good question. Definitely, I think that their friendship would be mended. She has a child. She's, it probably wouldn't be that fun for fans, but I would love for her to just kind of get a grasp on reality.
She don't have it after all these years?
Yeah.
Just anchor her down just a little bit, because she's floating really high up there.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but I want her to find love, I don't know if it would be with Todd, even though Jason Pace is my Facebook friend.
Maybe go back to Idris.
Yeah.
Idris Elba was
When we all-
she left him for
Todd.
the character left Idris for Todd.
I
Take that in.
Decision. Very poor choice.
I think that I want her to be happy, but also too, I want her to find. I don't think Tony's a very insecure woman. Let's be very clear about that part. And I would just love for her to really, anchor in a bit and just really truly start loving herself more. And if that comes with love, in a man and husband, later on, that's beautiful. Hopefully with her child, that's great. But I just want her to love herself a little bit more and just be anchored a little bit more and mend friendship. Because they're still friends. But we're not friends right now in terms of the story.
Yeah.
Maya, how do we wrap up? Oh, Golden, how do we wrap up Maya? Jesus.
I know, the lines get blurred. The authoress?
The authoress.
I'd have to say she would definitely have a series of best-selling books. I have fans to this day that actually send me covers of books. What?
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
You might run for office.
Yeah, you might go for office. Yeah.
This is a little running joke. But
Golden's improv yesterday, and the scene was
brilliant.
exceptional.
it was for her.
She was going. Yeah, it was. I haven't laughed that hard since 20 years ago.
She brings it out of me. But no, literally, I think she'd be like the Michelle Obama. See, I'm lofty.
Big goals.
She is
Big.
lofty in her ideas.
I don't go pebbles.
Yeah.
I go galaxy. Again, you see it? So that would actually be the through line, the byline of the book. No, but she would definitely have a series of best-selling books. Motivational speaker. She'd be the urban
totally
version
see
of
that.
Tony Robbins. You know what I mean? Going to these
what I was just
conventions,
thinking.
and she's just really has become a voice for her community. She's a feminist in her own right. Maya has always been a feminist in her own right.
That's very exciting.
Do you see that?
Yes, and I can see Lynn is back from Europe,
Yeah.
and she's like a huge star.
Yeah, and we cohabitate our worlds.
Tony, what are you doing?
So
I know, but I need to know what I'm getting the visuals so I can see how
she's still selling real estate.
Are you still selling real estate?
Oh, I'm on that Bravo show.
Yes!
Oh yeah.
Yes!
I'm a $1 million listener.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
$1 million
listings.
Yeah, motivational speaker, Pulitzer Award winning,
What?
authoress. Go on.
And I have a feeling, so this is also maybe a little controversial for the fans. I don't think that Joan has gotten married.
Really?
I think that Joan is actually happy in herself. I don't think she's had a child, and I don't think she's gotten married. And I think that it sets the example of
It's okay.
the happy ending does not mean that you ride off with a man on a horse. And I think that Joan might have given up a lot of her money stuff and is living kind of moderately in her world, and she's just happy, and maybe her friends are her thing.
Yeah.
You know?
It's crazy. That's really beautiful.
It's so
what's crazy
real
was
and
a
honest.
guy once said to me,
She has a restaurant.
I said,
still
I've
at the
been very, you know, I've had successful relationships. I'm very blessed in that, you know. And this guy said, well, they couldn't be too successful because you're not married. And I was like, well, that means that you think that that's the goal.
Jill,
that's not
girl,
the goal for me.
I mean,
If it happens, it happens, but that's not the goal.
you've got to
It's
be.
not the picture. It's not the end story.
You got to be better than my company. You got to add something to it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very true. I think there is there's a stigma that if you're of a certain age.
Oh, it still exists, yeah.
And you're not married or with child or whatever, or the whole picture.
Yeah.
That you're the scarlet letter on your back or something. And I think it's such a farce. It's not real. It's not honest. I mean, there's something about self-love, and that's real. That's
I like
so
that
real.
though, what you said about Joan.
I think it would be really interesting. Yeah, and I don't know if her restaurant still exists, but maybe she's actually got a restaurant and is doing that, and that's the thing. I don't know that I see it as a big wedding. I feel like that undermines that story.
Yeah.
And perpetuates this myth that is the goal in that way. And so, and again, I do really feel like the love affair has been between these four women.
Exactly.
You know, I just said to one of my best friends the other day, like, I do think one of the greatest love affairs of my life has been with my friends.
Oh my gosh.
You know, in the most beautiful way. And friends that are married, like my friend Dylan, her husband knows, like I hold a place, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With Samira, like, and not in a way that I'm saying that I don't
It's important.
want a man or have men's.
Yeah, men's is.
Sorry, I had to put men's. Anyway, but I do, and I think particularly in this story, this is the story.
Yeah, absolutely.
To me, this is the story. Whether there's a wedding or a kid or whatever is interesting, and a job and all that, but this is the story.
Yeah.
This is the story to be told. This is the story that's interesting,
Girlfriends.
and it is it.
Yeah.
And I love that that's what we painted, and that's what we would all continue to draw in this story. And I'm grateful, and I will say, so that it is, it'll make me cry, but I'm grateful. I'm grateful to Mara for what she brought together with this. This started my career. It defines so much of who I am as a person. The template of what we did on Girlfriends with our producers, our writers, our crew, our cast, us as a group, and the friendships the bond that we created. I mean, I don't even need to kind of put that label on it. The bond that was created and the home that it is will remain it's in time.
I have to say, when I got pregnant, I called this one. It was just like, it was it just was knee jerk. That's my girl, and I wanted to share that with her. And, so I mean, it was, the lines were always sort of cross-wired, these women hold value, and we may not see each other or talk every day, but there's you spend a certain amount of time with people.
It's a lot of years,
Anyone who
guys.
knows us knows about us.
Yes.
Like,
I
my
mean-
husband knows all of you and
Yeah.
doesn't know you.
And
because
Mecca,
my life
her-
is so strong. We can't.
And Mecca, I mean,
my
her daughter grew up on set with us.
She was like 6.
Her
she's a
daughter
baby.
grew up with us. Like I went down a deep dive on Mecca's Instagram, and I was like,
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
so
She's
good.
like this
Mecca
woman.
follows
and then
all of them.
Dakota, come over here.
Come here, Dee.
This is golden.
This is golden,
Dakota.
baby.
Yeah.
Come on. What?
Hey, Dakota.
This is my. Say hi. This is my little munchkin.
How are you?
So good.
I'm glad this happened because
Yes.
you got Golden Girls, and then you got the Hot Girls and the City Girls, and I just feel like the Girlfriends fall right in the middle of all of that.
Well, and I will say thank you to you. Thank you for keeping
so
the legacy of our
much.
show alive.
Yes.
Thank you for the love that you had and have for our
Have.
show. But I
Yeah.
mean, while it was happening,
Absolutely.
you were there present, and for using your platform to continue to name and place us in the historical context of what we did, because it requires that. It's a vacuum otherwise. And you are one of the places that, and the people that have continued to name who we are and what we are in the landscape of television and how our community holds us. And so thank you for that.
No,
Yes.
thank y'all.
Thank you.
We need one of these executives to cut the check for the miniseries.
Yes.
Okay? White, black, Jewish, somebody step up. Make
Yes,
this happen.
thank you.
Boom.
All right, thank
Thank
y'all.
you.
Thank you.
All right.